Greetings, humans. This is the next in the series on epistemology and how it's not really possible to know anything, and the topic of the day is instincts and intuitions. First, we have to know what we're dealing with. When a basic person uses the word instinct, often what they mean is intuition. It is a kind of knowledge that doesn't really have a distinct source in the environment. It's based on some past experience, maybe, and it just comes to you that this is the right answer or that would be a good idea. And you go with that at your peril. In the sciences, when we say instinct, that's not what we mean at all. An instinct is a complex inborn behavior, right? So horses are born knowing how to run, and being born is a bit of a dramatic, traumatic experience. It's tiring. The horse is born, and then it needs a minute, but within a few hours, the baby horse, the colt, is up on its feet, keeping up with the herd. It instinctively knows how to do that. Take any four-legged animal that's never seen water before and throw it in water, and it can swim. The motion of walking propels it forward. Its torso is its flotation device. And even elephants, they sink a little more than other kinds of animal. But their trunk, they can still poke that up above water, and they do. And elephants don't drown. Those are instincts. The weaver bird is born knowing how to weave the weaver bird nest. Mommy and daddy weaver bird don't take baby weaver bird aside when he turns 13 and go, "Son, we're going to teach you how to weave the weaver bird nest so you can get chicks." Chicks, get it? It just knows how to do it. Conversely, though, if you take the weaver bird and stick it in an environment where there are no long grasses, it cannot weave a different kind of nest. It cannot learn how to do that. So when you transplant weaver birds to unfriendly environments, they're gone in one generation. They can't lay their nest. They can't build their nest. They can't lay eggs, and they disappear. They go extinct. What humans get is not a set of complex inborn behaviors, but a ton of extra neural material. So the estimates on this stuff are changing all the time as we count neurons in different ways. But one number is, by the age of 5, you'd have about 100 billion neurons in your brain. But by age 30, you'd have only 40 billion neurons in your brain, because the other 60 billion were extra. What they're there for is so that you have a ton of clay that can be co-opted into any shape the environment demands from your brain. And then when the environment has made its demands, you shove off the extra clay because you don't need the potential, and because the actuality, which is synapses, also take up space, right? So humans don't really have instincts. We don't have complex inborn behaviors. At best, we have reflexes, but also predispositions. So all that extra neural material in particular places, for example, overspecifies us to learn one or more languages between the ages of 1 and 3 and learn them really well and really fast. They predispose us to be sort of social animals and situationally violent animals, and so on and so on. Sexuality, all of that. Okay. But those aren't really ways of knowing. Those are specifications for what kind of knowledge you might tend to acquire, but not the knowledge itself. Intuitions, though, when people say instincts, they usually mean intuitions. And again, that's just kind of that feeling that you get, that emotion, a resonance towards a particular answer on a test, or a behavior or a choice to make. So you're at the casino and you decide to play the roulette wheel, right? And you remember Wesley Snipes going, "Always bet on black." And so you look at the red thing and the black thing and the number things, and you're like, I'm going to bet on black like Wesley Snipes. And you just have a feeling that when the wheel stops turning, when the wheel slows down and the ball stops bouncing, it's going to be on a black tile and you're going to win. Should you bet on that? Should you bet on that? Well, statistically, no. In your head, it's a 50-50 chance whether it's going to land on red or black, and making your decision in that manner, you can't beat 50-50. It's literally a coin toss. But it's not even 50-50 because there's the 0 and the double 0, and these are the vig to the casino. If it lands on green, everybody loses, and 2 of the numbers are green, so your odds aren't even quite 50-50. They're a little bit worse than that. And since you can't even get to 50-50 in the first place, right? Betting on an instinct or an intuition, you would do that because you have no other information. If the wheel is honest and the outcome is random, there's no better basis upon which to make a decision, and you might as well make it based on your intuition or movies that you've seen or how you feel in that moment. The thing is that the world is usually more complicated, but also more knowable than the outcome of a roulette spin. And so you should make your decisions when there is some more factual basis to do it. You should make it on that more factual basis, okay? Sportsbook apps, gambling is really popular right now. I almost fell into using their language, man. In my state, we had a referendum. They asked voters if they wanted to tax gambling sites to pay for outdoor, open spaces, and everyone voted yes on that. They didn't read the whole amendment. And it was actually a Trojan horse that it legalized gambling on out-of-state run websites in our state. So now it's just wall-to-wall advertising for MGM Grand and all of the others of those. Okay, so the casinos, they're always telling you how much you can win, but casinos aren't built on people's winnings, right? They would like nothing better than for you to bet your instincts. You're a fan of Tampa Bay, and so you bet on Tampa Bay. You just have a feeling this is going to be their moment, and you bet on it. But you're going to lose money in the long term. They set it up so that you can get some little wins along the way and feel good and feel reinforced. But in the long term, if you bet your instincts, you're going to lose. If you bet your intuitions, you're going to lose. The only people who make money on gambling websites are statisticians. Which, if you're listening to me on the Black Pill, you're almost certainly not a statistician. Because statisticians already understand all of this stuff that I'm telling you, okay? So instincts and intuitions. Because you have an intuition that a thing is going to happen, does it happen? Dreams. Dreams could be this form of intuition. And what happens is that you remember the hits and forget the losses. So one day you're scheduled to fly out of town, and you have a nightmare. You have a nightmare about the plane. The plane's going to crash. And so you take the nightmare seriously. You stay home, and in fact, there's some problem on the plane. It doesn't crash. Like no major American commercial flight has crashed in 4 years, 5 years. There have been like a total of 2 deaths in commercial aviation, right, in 3 or 4 years now. But something bad happens and you go, I had a nightmare about that. My dream came true. Okay, so what are the odds? What are the odds? How many people are on Earth? Almost 8 billion people are on Earth. How many dreams does each person have in a 24-hour period? Well, probably like 50 or 60, and maybe only 2 or 3 they remember, but 50 or 60 dreams times 8 billion people, you're already into some really big, unmanageable numbers, right? That's at the 50 end, it's 400 billion dreams in a 24-hour period. What would be the odds none of those dreams would match anything about reality? Okay? And then there's the problem of dreams aren't really very memorable anyway. They're nonsensy. Your frontal lobe isn't really doing its regular job of unifying experience. And so it's trying to make sense of the disunified experiences of various parts of your brain all at once. So they're nonsense. And so it's really hard actually to remember them. And the hippocampus is off anyway. So maybe you had a dream about a bus and there was a plane in the dream and the bus crashed, but the plane didn't, and you remember it as a dream about, right? There's no certainty here. There's no way that you can go back and examine you only have their testimony about what their dream was. And that testimony, that memory of the dream might not be accurate, right? So there's that other level of complexity. But even given that the dream was true and accurately remembered, what are the odds that nobody would ever have a dream that by chance matches something in reality enough to be remembered as such? So you had one dream in which there was a plane and something bad happened on the plane, and in fact something bad did happen on the plane, and you weren't there because you took the dream seriously. But how many other dreams have you had? And did all of them come true? Remember the dream where you show up to class and you're not wearing any pants and everyone laughs at you? Well, you've never actually shown up to class with no pants on, right? So you're already at only 50-50. But then you've had hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands of dreams in your lifetime, and how many of them have come true? Even if it were the case that you had a dream that came true because you had a clairvoyant episode, how do you know the difference between the true intuitions you should pay attention to and the false intuitions you should ensure? What we're talking about now is called reliability. Even if you can sometimes be accidentally right using a method of knowledge, that method of knowledge is not reliable because it does not lead to truth. It is correct by accident. All right? And so remember, the standard that we're going for is certainty. Because I know the thing in this way, I can be certain that that knowledge is true. And when it comes to intuitions, I'm sorry, you just cannot have that certainty. And so we have to let intuitions and, yes, instincts, we have to let them go as ways of knowing. Black Bill out.